Hi, everyone, subscribe my channel cheating story. It was meant to be a peaceful Friday evening. After weeks of growing distance and unspoken tension, my wife, Jessica, suggested we go out for dinner and talk. Her voice sounded controlled, almost practiced, like she had rehearsed every word beforehand. I didn't expect much from it. For months, she had been distant, always glued to her phone, always staying late at work. Still, a small part of me hoped she wanted to fix what we had lost. I wore my best shirt, booked a table at her favorite Italian place in Portland, Oregon, and tried to believe our marriage still had something worth saving. But the second she sat across from me, I felt it. Her eyes were distant and cold. Her fingers lightly tapped against her wine glass. That's when I realized this wasn't about fixing anything. This was the end. The waiter had barely finished pouring our drinks when she looked at me and said, "Daniel," her tone steady and emotionless, "I'm leaving you." No hesitation. No tears. Just blunt, cutting truth. I searched her face, hoping to find even a hint of regret. There was nothing. "I've met someone else," she continued casually, like she was mentioning a minor change in her routine. "He makes me feel alive again." A strange sense of calm settled over me. Not shock, not anger, just a clear understanding of what was happening. I gently placed my fork down, leaned back, and asked quietly, "Then what's the purpose of this dinner?" "To get closure," she replied, almost relieved that I wasn't reacting emotionally. "I didn't want things to end badly. I want us to stay civil." Civil. That word hit harder than anything else. After 10 years together, I was being dismissed like a business arrangement coming to an end. I studied her carefully, the way she carried herself, the changes I hadn't noticed before. Her hairstyle was different. The scent she wore wasn't familiar. Her phone kept lighting up with notifications she pretended to ignore. "What's his name?" I asked, even though I already had a good idea. "It doesn't matter," she answered quickly, glancing around nervously. "I just need to be honest with myself." I gave a faint smile. "Honesty is a good start," I said. "You'll probably need it in about 2 minutes." She frowned, confused. "What does that mean?" I didn't respond. Instead, I looked toward the entrance. A tall man in a gray suit had just walked in. I recognized him immediately. The same man whose picture had appeared on her phone a couple of weeks earlier. Her so-called business partner. The one she claimed to be working late with. Ryan. A married man with 2 children. And the person she had chosen over me. He hadn't noticed us yet. He was focused on helping a woman out of her coat. I recognized her instantly. His wife, Claire. The moment Jessica turned and saw them, the color drained from her face. Ryan stopped mid-step, still holding his wife's purse. For a few long, painful seconds, none of us spoke. We simply stared at each other. I could practically hear Jessica's heartbeat racing from across the table. She looked terrified. Leaning forward slightly, I spoke in a calm, even tone. "You didn't think I'd invite them too, did you?" Her eyes widened in shock. "You did what?" she whispered. I took a sip of my wine, completely composed. "When you started acting differently, I looked into things," I explained. "Turns out Ryan's wife had her own doubts. So we decided to arrange a little dinner." Claire's gaze locked onto Ryan, her face caught between anger and heartbreak. "So it's true," she said softly. Ryan clenched his jaw. "Claire, not here," he muttered. But she cut him off, her voice rising. "You told me those trips were over. You said you ended it." The entire restaurant fell silent. Jessica's hand shook as she reached for her napkin, pretending to wipe her lips, but the panic on her face was impossible to hide. I leaned back in my chair, watching everything unfold. No yelling, no smugness, just quiet satisfaction as the truth revealed itself. Finally, Jessica turned to me, desperation in her eyes. "Daniel, I didn't know she would be here," she whispered. "This wasn't supposed to happen." I tilted my head slightly. "You mean getting exposed wasn't supposed to happen?" I replied calmly. "But it always does. Lies never stay hidden forever." Ryan tried to grab Claire's arm, but she pushed him away, tears streaming down her face. "You can have him," she snapped at Jessica. "He's all yours. Good luck." He's been cheating on me for years. As everything spiraled into chaos, I stood up, placed some cash on the table, and prepared to leave. Jessica reached out toward me, her voice breaking. "Daniel, wait please." I paused just long enough to speak. "You ended this marriage the moment you decided I wasn't enough," I said quietly. "I just gave you the chance to say it out loud." Then I walked away, leaving them both behind in the mess they had created. Later that night, Claire called me. "I needed to see it with my own eyes," she said softly. "Otherwise, I never would have believed it." We talked for about an hour. Two people, both hurt in the same way, sharing the same kind of pain. There was a strange comfort in that connection. There was no romance, no expectations, just understanding, the kind that comes from surviving betrayal. The next morning, Jessica came to the house in Salem, Oregon. Her eyes were swollen. Her makeup was smeared. "I'm sorry," she cried. "It's over with him. I made a mistake. I lost everything." I nodded, unaffected. "You didn't lose everything," I told her. "You gave it away." She begged me for another chance, but my response was simple. "You wanted to be honest with yourself," I said. "Then stay honest. This is who you chose to be." And with that, I closed the door. In the months that followed, I rebuilt my life piece by piece. I sold the house, started a new job, and began traveling again. I later heard that Ryan's marriage completely fell apart, and his career collapsed after Claire filed a complaint with HR. Jessica moved into a small apartment in Eugene, Oregon alone. The freedom she had chased didn't feel the way she expected. It felt more like regret. Sometimes I think back to that night. I remember the exact moment everything changed, the door opening, and the truth walking in behind it. She believed she was leaving me for something better. But instead, she stepped directly into the consequences of her own deception. And all I had to do was let the truth sit down at the table.